On June 25, 1975, exactly 50 years ago, emergency was imposed in India, marking a 21-month period widely considered one of the darkest phases in the country's democratic history. Hello everyone, welcome to V2B Academy, and I welcome you all to the comprehensive discussion on 50 years of emergency in India and what are the lasting lessons that we can learn for today's democratic setup. So let's explore about the 1975 emergency, its political roots, its authoritarian overreach, the suppression of rights during that particular period, and the lasting lessons for India's democratic setup today. So let's explore one after the other in detail. So basically, let us see what are the constitutional provisions that our constitution possesses in order to impose emergency during any time. So basically, part 18 of the constitution has three important emergency articles that are existing in it. So one is under Article 352, one is under Article 356, and other one is under Article 360 of the Constitution. Basically, Article 352 is proclaimed when India's security is threatened by three important things. One is war, one is external aggression, and one is armed rebellion. So basically, there are three grounds on which national emergency can be declared under Article 352. One is war, one is external aggression, and the other one is armed rebellion. So basically, prior to 44th Amendment Act of Indian Constitution, this armed rebellion was termed as the internal disturbance. The armed rebellion, the word armed rebellion was not there in the Constitution. It was named as a internal emergency or internal threats. So basically, Article 352 is about the national emergency. And the next emergency is about Article 356. We can commonly call this particular Article 356 as the President Rule, which is basically imposed on a state government when state government cannot function according to the constitutional provisions. And there is another article, that is Article 360, which is about the financial emergency. This Article 360 is imposed by the central government when India's financial stability or credit worthiness is threatened. Basically, this was introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for its inclusion and to deal with the economic crisis that the country faces. So basically, central government will have the power to impose the emergencies because in order to ensure the sovereignty and the democracy of the country is protected, and also the security of the nation is protected. So these are the grounds on which the emergency is needed to be declared. So basically, now we are learning about the national emergency. So let's look at the historical background at which these particular national emergencies were declared in the past. So there were three instances at which the national emergencies were declared. So one is during 1962 Sino-Indian War. So basically, India-China war has taken place during 1960s. So during the wars, definitely I've told there are three important grounds on which national emergencies can be declared. One is an external aggression or war. So basically, during the war, okay, so this particular national emergency was declared under Article 352 by Indian central government. So this was declared on October 26, 1962 due to Chinese aggression. It remained in effect until 1968. And the second one is during 1971 during the Indo-Pakistan War. So this was proclaimed on December 3rd, 1971 during the conflict with Pakistan, which was leading to the creation of the Bangladesh. We know we have supported the Eastern Pakistan to get the independence from the Western Pakistan, and later it was turned into Bangladesh. So that's a different story altogether. But today the topic of discussion is about 1975 war. So this was declared due to the internal disturbances that were existing in country. So this is one of the most controversially declared national emergency. Basically, this was declared on June 25, 1975. That is exactly 50 years ago by President of India who was working at that particular time. That specific period of time has a President of India as Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. So he has declared emergency by citing the internal disturbances that are existing in India. As I've already told you, there was no phrase that was mentioned in the constitution called armed rebellion. So armed rebellion, in the place of armed rebellion, so there was a term under Article 352, that is the internal disturbances. So basically, on the grounds of internal disturbances, so the President of India, the then President of India Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, has cited the reason of internal disturbances and declared the emergency in India. So it was on June 25th, 1975. So basically, what is the backdrop of emergency? Let me tell you, Indira Gandhi won a landslide victory in 1971 elections but her government has faced multiple crises after winning the elections. In 1971, she has won the elections, but she has faced a lot of crises. So one is 1971 India-Pakistan war led to a lot of droughts. Pakistan war, and also lot of droughts were occurring at the same time. And in 1973, we have seen, because of Iran-Iraq war and because of the global uncertainties, we have seen oil crisis also. All of this has led to the rise in corruption in India, misgovernance, and state excesses were also increased. So these factors have triggered widespread public dissatisfaction against the government. And also during this time there was a rise of student movements. So in February 1974, Gujarat's Navirman movement, led by the resignation of CM Chiman Patel over corruption, was there. And also student-led protest was also spreaded to the areas of Bihar. They were uniting socialist and right-wing groups under the Chhatra Sangharsh Samiti. And we have seen the JP movement also during this particular time. So Jayaprakash Narayan, who is a Gandhian and a Quit India movement veteran, took the charge of the movement, and he was fighting for his own cause. So on June 5th, 1974, the Patna's Gandhi Maidan, the JP gave an iconic call for the Sampurna Kranti. That is, he has called for the total revolution. So this was mobilized by the mass support across Bihar and beyond. So these kind of student movements were seen across Gujarat and Bihar also. Okay, so there was a rise of student movements even after the victory of the Indira Gandhi government. And we have seen nationwide agitation, and there was a call for the change. So in May 1974, George Fernandez led a railway worker strike also, and it was paralyzing India's railways. And through 1974 and early 1975, we have seen the rise and intensification of the JP movement, and it again gained the national movement. So these were all the trigger points during this particular time. And one particular trigger point was Allahabad High Court verdict. Okay, so let me explain you everything in detail. So in 1975, during 1975 emergency, which was imposed by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, so is widely regarded as a dark chapter of India's democracy, and there are several factors which has contributed for the declaration of emergency during that particular time. And few factors are political reasons, few factors are economic reasons, and few other factors were also there. So let's see the first one, that is economic crisis and the political discontent. I have told you already, so there was high unemployment, industrial growth was very stunted, and there was a soaring prices of essential commodities. So all of these factors, economic crisis, all of these factors has led to the economic crisis. This economic crisis led to the public discontent against the government. So all of this economic discontent was because of the external factors, like for example, the Indo-Pakistan war, and because of droughts, and even from the government side we have seen the rise in corruptions and all. So the political crisis was also developing. So all of this reason has led to the economic crisis, which led to the public discontent against the government. And next one is there was lot of student unrest and the JP movement, as I have already told you. So there were agitations that were taking place in Gujarat, and also we have seen the agitation getting spreaded to the areas of Bihar also. And also these agitations were also led by JP, that is Jayaprakash Narayan, and it was mobilizing masses against the corruption and government's unpopularity. So this was demanding the dismissal of the state governments. Basically, JP movement was focusing on dismissing the Congress government in the Bihar. So in this way, lot of student protests were happening, student unrest was seen, and the JP movement was also intensifying during this time. And we have seen the railway strike also, and a nationwide strike led by George Fernandez paralyzed the country because he was fighting for demanding the better service condition for the railway employees. So this railway strike was also intensifying day by day. And the final thing is conflict with judiciary. So there was a persistent clash between the government and judiciary over the fundamental rights. So this was a period when there was a game that was played by judiciary and the parliament with regards to few of the important amendments like 24th Amendment, 25th Amendment. So judiciary was giving the judgment. To nullify the judgment's effect, the parliament was coming up with the amendments by giving more powers to the parliament. In this way, there was lot of conflict that was happening during this particular time. And the final trigger point was Allahabad High Court's verdict. So the immediate trigger was the June 12th verdict that was given by the Allahabad High Court. So in 1971, whatever the Lok Sabha election has taken place, basically against that, few of the people has approached the High Court against the Indira Gandhi by telling that Indira Gandhi has misused the constitutional and the state machinery in order to win the elections. So even High Court has declared it as the null and void. Okay, basically High Court also has declared this particular idea and the process faced by the Indira Gandhi as something wrong, and it has verdicted by nullifying Indira Gandhi's 1971 Lok Sabha elections. This has leading to the emergency proclamations 2 weeks later. Basically, after the Allahabad High Court judgment, so what happened is Indira Gandhi appealed it to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court also supported the nullification of the Indira Gandhi's Lok Sabha election. So because of that, 2 weeks later, immediately after the day of the Supreme Court judgment, so she has declared the emergency. Okay, so this is the immediate trigger point against the judiciary that has led to the emergency. So these are the several factors that has led to the emergency during that particular time. So what were the constitutional amendments that were brought during the emergency? So basically the emergency period witnessed significant constitutional amendments that sought to consolidate executive power and curtail the judicial oversight. So I've already told you, Indira Gandhi government has a lot of conflicts with the judiciary. So it was bringing a lot of amendments in the Indian constitution by amending the fundamental rights and few aspects of DPSPs, by nullifying the judicial oversight, by nullifying the judicial independence, and increasing the powers of the executive and also the legislature. So these amendments has sparked lot of intense debate among the balance of powers. So the Indian constitution strictly follows something called as separation of powers. But the ideology of the Indira Gandhi was in such a way that it was against the ideology of the separation of powers, and it was against the ideology of the judicial review and the judicial independence. Let's see few of the amendments that were brought under her period. So 38th amendment was brought in 1975. So this made the president declaration of emergency non-justiciable. So basically president can actually declare the emergency and it is non-justiciable. People cannot approach the court for this particular provision. So this particular provision, this specific provision was added to the constitution through 38th Amendment Act. So it was barring judicial review of proclamations made under Article 352 and Article 360 as well. And there was another amendment, so which is also called as mini constitution, that is 42nd constitutional amendment was brought. So this was changing lot of things in the constitution with respect to fundamental rights, with respect to fundamental duties, with respect to DPSPs. Lot of changes were brought under constitution through 42nd Amendment Act. Okay. So this was vastly reducing the Supreme Court and High Court power to judicial review of the certain changes that Parliament brings with respect to the Constitution. It has granted Parliament unrestrained power to amend any part of the Constitution. It means through 42nd Amendment Act, Indira Gandhi government wanted to increase the power of the Parliament and legislature to actually erase and also add whatever the provision it wants and to increase the power of the Parliament and executive. And later, during the Janata government, once after the emergency period when elections were held, Janata party came into the power. During that particular time, during that specific time, 43rd and 44th Amendments Act was born. Okay, these were brought. So these particular amendments, especially the 44th Amendment, brought back the changes that were made under 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Whatever the provisions that were added by the Indira Gandhi, if they are authoritative in nature, okay, so that particular authoritative changes that were brought by Indira Gandhi government was again changed by the Janata government. Okay. So these were the few constitutional amendments that were brought during the emergency. So what are the far-reaching effects of the 1975 emergency? So what were the effects? What were the results of the 1975 emergency? So let's see them. So the 21-month period of 1975 emergency has profound and lasting effects on the Indian society. So not only on Indian society, so it was having a lot of impacts on the society, civil liberties of the people. It was having a lot of impacts on the politics also. Okay, it was reshaping the democratic landscape of the country. So first one is, there is a suspension of the fundamental civil liberties. So basically civil liberties like fundamental rights, including the freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, these were suspended during the emergency. This has led to the widespread human right violation during this time. And the opposition leaders, mainly the JP movement leader, the Jayaprakash Narayan, and the opposition party leaders like Morarji Desai, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, All of this were jailed under the draconian laws, and also almost 100,000 assets of this particular arrests were also possible during this particular time. Okay, almost 1 lakh arrests were made during this particular time, and assets were also taken away. And next one is censorship of media. So there was a press. Okay, press was heavily censored. Almost the freedom of press got diminished, with all the news reports requiring government clearance before publication. If Indian Express or if any newspaper wanted to publish something against the government, or if it want to publish any news also, they need to get consent of the government. The government need to clear, okay, it need to provide a clearance before publication of that particular news. Okay, so this was impacting the press freedom also. And there was a forced sterilization program in order to come up with a family planning programs or to control the population. So they have come up with an ideology of forced mass sterilization programs. So this coercive family planning program also involved mass forced sterilization. This led to the public resentment and also public trauma, and public distrust against the government got developed. And next one is economic disruptions and the political backlash. And so during this particular time, there was a lot of economic disruption that was taking place. I have told you, after effects of the war and because of the droughts and because of several corruption activities. Okay, all of this has led to the economic disruptions. And during the emergency and after the emergency, so because of lot of restrictions during the emergency, the economic disruption, the intensification of the economic disruption has taken place, and there was lot of political backslash also. So people striked, okay, people came up with the strikes, and they were actually concerned about the instability that was created to the economy of the country, and massive backlash from the public was seen. So because of which, after the emergency, when the elections were conducted, so we have seen the defeat of the Congress party government in 1977 elections. So this was marking a historic shift, we can see, because a non-Congress PM was came up, okay, after this particular emergency period. So let's see the judicial scrutiny. So what are the different Supreme Court judgments on emergency that we have seen? So the Supreme Court of India has played a crucial role in interpreting the emergency powers. Okay, so let's see few of them. First one is Minerva Wins versus Union of India case 1980. So in this particular case, the court has held that the power of judicial review cannot be suspended even during the emergency. So basically, even during the emergency, as Indira Gandhi government wanted to diminish the power of judicial review during the emergency through 42nd Amendment Act. So this was reversed by Minerva Mills case by telling that the power of judicial review cannot be suspended even during the emergency. So Supreme Court has affirmed as it's a part of the Constitution basic structure. So we know the concept of basic structure doctrine, which was brought by Keshavananda Bharati case, right? So whatever the part of the Constitution that the judiciary decides to put under the basic structure doctrine, definitely that particular part should not be amended or it should not be changed. Okay, the scope of that particular thing can be expanded, but it should not be diminished. Okay, in the same way, judicial review comes under the basic structure doctrine. So because of which, even under the emergency period, the judicial review cannot be curtailed or suspended. Next important judicial case is S.R. Bommai versus Union of India case 1994. So in this case, Supreme Court has ruled that President rule under Article 356 is subjected to judicial review. Again in 1944, it has reaffirmed that not only national emergency, but also the president rule will also be subjected to the judicial review. And it has come up with strict guidelines to prevent the misuse of the president rule. Okay. So this is the another important judgment. And the next important judgment in 1974 was Bhutnath Mehta versus State of West Bengal. So during this particular judgment, the Supreme Court has opined that the suspension of fundamental rights under Article 359 does not bar all legal remedies. Writs can still be filled for non-compliance with the statutory provisions. So all of the fundamental rights or fundamental rights which will actually lead or help the citizens to come up to the court to fight against the state if there is any authoritarianism. So all of it will not be suspended. Certain legal remedies still will be there during the emergencies also, is something which Supreme Court has told during this particular judgment. Okay. So there are some reports that were brought, especially Shah Commission report based on the Janata government has constituted this Shah Commission, so it has also come up with a report. And there are other reports like Puttaswamy versus Union of India 2017, ADM Jabalpur versus and others important cases that we need to see. So let's see. The period of emergency and its excesses have been thoroughly examined and criticized by various judicial pronouncements, and also few other reports that were brought by the different commissions. So let's see what are they and what are they telling about emergency. Let's see about that. So a controversial 4:1 majority judgment by the Supreme Court, which upheld the government's right to suspend the right to life and personal liberty during the emergency, Justice H.R. Khanna's lone dissent became a beacon of judicial courage. So basically, there was a controversial judgment that was that was given. So this was in ADM Jabalpur versus Shivakant Shukla case in 1976. So this judgment was given with 4:1. Okay, one person was actually giving a different opinion and 4 were supporting one particular opinion. So in this particular Supreme Court verdict, so it has upheld the government's right to suspend the right to life and personal liberty during an emergency. So 4 were supporting it and 1 was against this. This has shown the judicial courage. Okay, so this has shown the beacon of the judicial courage. And next one is the Puttaswamy versus Union of India. So this was a landmark case of 9-judge bench. So they have unanimously overruled the ADM Jabalpur case by saying that right to life and personal liberty that is guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution are inalienable human rights. Even during the emergency, they cannot be suspended. So basically during the emergencies also, Article 21, that is right to life and personal liberty, this is something which cannot be suspended, is something which was ruled out in Puttaswamy versus Union of India case. Remember that. And during the Janata government, so they have constituted the Shah Commission in order to look at the impacts that the emergency period has created. So this was constituted post-emergency. So the Justice J.C. Shah Commission report harshly criticized the government actions. So they have documented mass arrests, they have spoke about the media censorship, the press freedom was declined, and they were also speaking about the forced sterilization and how people started distrusting the government. Okay, all of this was presented under Shah Commission report. So what are the lessons that we can learn for the thriving democracy from the national emergency period? So National Emergency of 1975 is offering valuable lessons for safeguarding our Indian democratic setup. So it is also emphasizing that the institutions, the robust institutions and the robust democratic institutions that we have, okay, so they needed to be reformed. Okay, they should not be authoritarian, and we need to protect the rights of the people, and we need to have a vigilant citizenry. So this is something which it is telling. So let's see one after the other in detail. So first lesson that we can learn from it is to avoid the despotism. Elected rulers must operate strictly within the constitutional framework. So by prioritizing collective interest should be done over the personal power. So basically, even if they have power, or even if they are elected as a PM, their personal interests are something which should not be prioritized. Okay, the collective interest of the people is something which they need to prioritize, because the democracy was set up through the social contract theory, where the power is given by the people to the authority. Okay, basically the authority to the PM or any leader comes from the people. Definitely the collective interest is something which needed to be kept in mind by leaders against the personal powers. Next one, harmony with the judiciary. So the executive must respect the judicial pronouncements and interpret judgments broadly to uphold the constitutional principle. So basically the role of judiciary itself is to uphold the constitution and constitutional principles. Definitely judiciary will have more knowledge with regards to the constitution than the parliamentarians. Definitely the executive and the legislatures both need to respect the judicial pronouncements, and they need to interpret judgments broadly to uphold the constitutional principles. And also the third thing that we can learn from the emergency period, the harsh dark period, is protecting the fundamental rights. So government must always value and protect citizens' fundamental rights. So we have to understand the fundamental rights of the people. The state need to actually come up with the measures to protect the fundamental rights of the people. They cannot be snatched away, they cannot be taken away. People will give you a lesson if you are snatching away the fundamental rights of the people. And the next one is the responsible media and civil society. So from the censorship of media, we can learn that a vigilant media and active civil society are very, very crucial in order to make that particular country more democratic. So in order to come up or in order to support the democratic ideas. So media plays a major role and civil society will also play a major role. So the people in power or a person in power needed to be accountable to the people, and accountability can be given through the media. So by ensuring that the responsible media exists, we can ensure the democracy is upheld. Okay, we can actually uphold with the constitutionalism. So the 50th anniversary of 1975 emergency will definitely serve as a critical reminder for us, so that we can improve a lot of things with respect to democratic institutions, and a constant need of vigilance is something which is reminded by this dark age or dark period. So India's journey through its challenging period has ultimately strengthened its resolve to uphold the constitutional values and to protect the fundamental rights and the civil liberties of the people. Whatever the lessons that we have learned from this particular dark period will help us to continue to shape the discourse on governance. It will help us to shape the discourse on the accountability and other good governance mechanisms, and to uphold the idea of the constitutionalism. With this, we have completed the discussion. So we have completed it in a detailed way. So thank you everyone. So if you liked the discussion, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and please like the video and give your feedback through the comment box. Let's meet in the next class. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.